I was a scheduled C-section, but I went into labor before that date. When I got to the hospital, they noticed that it was coming pretty quick, so I was into surgery pretty fast. But everything went wrong, absolutely everything. Not only did they find that I was bleeding to death, but my son's cord was abnormally long, and it was choking him. So what they did was they messed with my, from what I understand was told, they messed with my anesthesia. And somehow I don't know, but it put me in a place where things got dangerous, and the bleeding apparently got worse from there. When they cut my son out, they were trying to save my son, which I said, you have to save my son. I had said, let me go. I made a choice, and it was him. But my ex-husband was asked, who do you want to save when I started to bleed so heavy? And he said me, but please, try to save both. Well, I started to die. So, and my ex-husband was there. I was under, but my ex-husband was there. So he gave me the details afterwards, and then I talked to the doctor afterwards to find out what happened, because I knew something was wrong, because I ended up going somewhere else during the delivery. I was knocked out, and I came through this light. If there was a tunnel, which is what I hear from a lot of people, I don't recall the tunnel. I just remember getting to the end of the tunnel with this light that was the brightest thing I've ever seen in my life. It did not hurt my eyes, but it was the most loving light I've ever seen. It was welcoming. It was like a drug to go towards it. There was nothing I could do to control it. I wanted to go through it. I get through it, and there's this man there on a wagon, the kind you would think of from the 1800s. And I know it sounds odd, but that's what it was. He was over 6 feet tall. He had dark hair. It was wavy, cut to about here. He was in a white robe with the, rope thing. And I was surrounded. If anybody's seen that movie Always, where Hap, the character Hap, who is Richard Dreyfuss meets, that field of wheat, that was my field. But just remember that movie was in 1989. My experience was 1983. So when that movie came and I saw that field, and I was like, oh my God, someone else must have had that, had popped up there, and maybe that's why they used it in the movie. But my gold, when I came into this place, were colors I'd never seen before. They don't exist here yet, or if ever, I don't know. The gold was so pure, not because it was worth all this money, but because it was, I don't want to just say special, but it's like it was holy. I don't know how to describe it. Every golden wheat plant was gold. I can't explain that. The sky was a blue I've never seen before. It was vibrant, and the white was pure. I mean, there is no way to describe that white. The whitest thing I could ever see anywhere doesn't come close to this white that I saw there. There's no comparison. And the colors were vibrant. I don't know how else to say it, and I've never seen them here. The other thing that I noticed when I got there, and this man, he told me his name was Gabe. And the love that I felt from this area, from Gabe, was so encompassing. It was like a drug. I've never felt it here on this earth, ever. That's with being the mother of 4 now and 2 grandchildren. It just doesn't compare. It's that powerful. It's that like a magnet. I can't explain it, but it's very powerful. You don't want to leave. You don't. So this man is telling me on the wagon, that wagon is going perpendicular for where I'm standing, and I am not. Well, we're about 20 to 30 feet away, and yet we're communicating. I have no mouth to talk to, but yet I understand what he's saying to me. And the first thing he said was, it's not your time, you have to go back. You still have a lot of work to do. And I knew that there's no way I wanted to leave that place. He said, you just had a baby boy, and you have a daughter at home, and you need to go home and raise them. That was my job at the time. That's what he needed me to do. And I didn't want to leave whatsoever. But I did what I was told. I mean, I didn't even realize where I was. I was 20 years old, and I don't think I'd ever heard of an NDE before. I don't think so. But I had no choice. I had absolutely no choice in his decision of what he was going to do with me. But it was all with love. There was nothing harmful, anything about it, even though I didn't want to come back here. So I knew with him going perpendicular from how I am looking at him, I know that on that wagon, and I can't tell you how I know this, that is the way to heaven, to God, whatever we call it. If I were to get on that wagon, that's where I would have gone. Well, I wasn't allowed. And I also was not allowed to turn to my right. I was not allowed to do that. If I did, it would have been considered I don't know if it would have been considered a sin. I didn't get that impression, but it was like this huge faux pas. It was this huge no-no. Then until God said that I could go there, I couldn't. And to turn there was bad. I just don't know why, but it was. And that was the right hand of God. And I wonder sometimes if that's where that expression comes from. Maybe somebody else knows that right hand of God thing, because that's where he was. He was on my right. I was not allowed to look. I was not allowed to go that way. Nothing. And with me being there in front of Gabe, I can't explain the draw, the power, the love. That love is more powerful than, and I never took drugs, but in high school did marijuana. But there's nothing like it. I mean, it's such a magnet. And with me not wanting to leave, what happened was he made me. I had no choice. All of a sudden, after seeing him on that wagon, which I wanted more than anything in this world, because I knew if I got on that wagon, I would get to go where he's going, which is to God, to heaven. But because he said it's not your time, you still have a lot of work to do. And he also told me that I have to tell people what happened. He goes, I want you to tell everybody you see about this experience. Well, he kicks me out, kicks me back down here. And I end up in the the recovery room in surgery. And the pain was horrible. It wasn't because of the surgery, although I had had surgery before, it was different. It was like my body went to this ugly thing I didn't want to be in. I didn't want to be in the body. I didn't. I was pissed. I was mad. And I had depression that lasted for a couple years. The fact that I would have left my newborn baby and my daughter here is something I was ashamed of for a long time. So even though he told me I had to come back and tell people about it, I couldn't do it because I was ashamed. And as I found out from other NDEs, that is common to feel shame and humiliation that you would have done that. But the draw, the strength of being there is overpowering. It's like you can't control it. I did what I was told because I had no choice, but if he had given me a choice, I would have stayed there. I hate to admit it, but I would have. I would have left everything here. I didn't care about my body. I didn't care about my family. And not without love. It wasn't about that. It was that I wanted to be where this man was. I wanted to be to God and to go to heaven. Because what I saw there was beautiful is not a strong, I don't know. It was so intensely wonderful, powerful, everything you think it is and more. But yeah, when I got back to my body and the pain set in, like, this isn't right, I'm not supposed to be in this body. I knew something was not right, even though it was. But to me, because I didn't want to be here, that's what it felt like. So afterwards, I get back to they wheel me back to my room, and I'm told what happened, and I was like, oh, that's what happened, because I was like, oh, okay, because they said that I was dying. When I actually died, or however, I don't know, because my ex-husband was kicked out. He said once he saw the blood, he had to go. He couldn't take it, because I just started to hemorrhage everywhere. But I didn't say anything for 15 years, because I was ashamed of the fact that I would have left my children. And I read somewhere or heard from someone else that the same thing happened to her. So it made me feel more normal about it, not so bad anymore. And then starting to read more and more and hear about other people that this happened to, and realizing how normal it was for me, I relaxed a lot about it. And I fessed up to my kids about it, and I feel better, even though I told them, look, I'm sorry, I would have left you. I went there, but I would have, I'm so sorry. And it just was like lifting 1,000 pounds off my soul. It was just horrible. But yeah, I was depressed because of it for a couple of years. I could recall that moment every day for years, and that love, I could bring it back because it doesn't exist here. That kind of love, we're not capable. We're just not as a human race. It just doesn't exist here. I don't know if that's our own fault or not, but it's the way it is. But after a couple of years, and I had to shake this off because that's all I thought about, knowing what's there and what's here. You don't want to come back, like JJ said, you don't. It's so wonderful, pain-free, perfect there, and then to come back here to this chaos, you don't want to. You realize you get to leave all that when you actually, all of us are going to pass away and all of us are going to die at some point. So when you do get there, it's different. It's this whole other thing, and you're not going to want to leave. It's wonderful and it's beautiful. For me, I came back with a weird sensitivity to light, and I hear people. The worst one I ever had was I was driving in the car, and it's the worst time it could have happened, but a face came at me, which happens a lot to me, and they smile. It's never anything bad, anything evil, nothing like that. And I don't know its purpose, but they will always smile at me, and it lasts for a couple seconds, and then I'll continue doing what I'm doing. Normally it hits me in the shower, I think, because I'm calm, I think. But this time it was in the car, and not very safe because it blocks my vision. But that was new, that didn't happen before, so I came back with that and the fact that I now feel people. So I can be around someone I don't even know, and if I pick up something ugly, I call it the ugly inside of people, I can't be around them because it makes me sick. It bothers me. I can physically feel it. That didn't happen before. I now have a problem with watches and electronics. I can wear cheap watches. They will work. But I can run out of watch battery in like a month or two, depending upon the metal on the watch, I think is why. I think my energy drains it. I'm not quite sure, but I read somewhere too that that's common also. So I couldn't explain it before. When I read it about another NDE or that they had that big problem, I was like, oh, okay. It's normal when they come back with that, so they have that too. That's why I wear this a lot. Because it's a watch, because it bugs me not to know the time, but I can, on this, and it doesn't affect this. But the poor watch guy, he had replaced batteries in all my watches over and over, and he didn't charge me after that, and I said, I can't bring it to him anymore because I knew it was me, not his battery watches. Or watch batteries, I should say. So I stopped doing that. But the whole change coming back, you see everything different. You see people different. I am so not scared of so many things out there now. I'm like, you have no idea how much this is just not a big deal. And your perspective is just so different. And like JJ said, I work with people now with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, lots of physical and emotional situations, a lot of that with the elderly people. And that feels right for me to be there. Before I was in the court system for many years. And that sucked a lot of energy out of me because I was around so much negativity all the time. And it affected me really bad. I ended up with an ulcer and all that. But I get into the healthcare thing where I can help people, different story. And it feels right. And you can't help it. You just can't. You can't control the way you end up when you come back. There's no control over it. And when I tell people where I work about the situation, and I don't go around telling everybody because the thing is that when I did try to do that, a lot of people think it's evil. They say it's the devil. And I'm like, okay, I know it's not the devil, so whatever. So, I do have to be careful who I tell the story to. But the people who I do tell and are receptive to the information, they are very interested and will ask me all sorts of things, what I saw, who I met, all this, what I was told. And so it helps people to tell that story. To know that when you die, it's not the end. It's just not. This is like one small stepping stone to after. This just is a tiny piece of it. And Gabe, I still see Gabe every once in a while when I want to recall him because I need to calm down or whatever. I'll think of him on that wagon and how I want to be on that wagon. And it helps for me. because that depression was horrible that I went through afterwards. And I had heard about a lady, and I forget how I met her. She had a near-death experience and for 7 years was in a bad depression. She sold her house, she bought a motorhome, and she traveled the country. She quit her job. She couldn't deal with it. She didn't want to be here. She wanted to be there. Oh, and that's right, the other thing I was told was that because it's not my time, there's no cheating. The interpretation is no suicide. You are cheating if you do that. He didn't say it was a sin or a crime. I'm not saying that I know if it is or it isn't because I don't. But he said no cheating about that part. You cannot go before it's your time or it's cheating. I don't know why he said that, but he did. So no suicide. And apparently some of us end up doing that. And I also read where they're trying to educate certain psychiatrists, psychologists to help people like the NDEers who seem to have bad depression. They come back with depression. And I get that because I had it too. And I don't know why. I couldn't function very well at first. I just couldn't do it because I know this is not a farce, but it's school. We're all here to learn. We're all here to do better and be better. How you treat others and stuff. Oh, and there's no religion. That's the other thing. If you go there, there's no religion. There's no priest, there's no rabbi, there's no bishop, there's nothing. It does not matter. Nothing. So when I hear someone say, well, you're going to hell because you're not this and this, I'm like, trust me, you're in such a surprise when you get there. Because it's so not relevant. It's just not relevant. And the important thing is that you learn, however you learn about God and being a better person, however you get that experience, that information is good. Right, but there's no right or wrong religion at all. So long as you're a good person, you are following God and all that. That's what matters. Doesn't matter how you get there, but no, you're not going to go there and see a priest and a rabbi and all that. No, not at all. It's so just not part of the process at all, Yeah.